I'm the kind of guy who sticks to his routine. Every morning, like clockwork, I walk 2 blocks from my apartment to this cozy little coffee shop around the corner. The owner knows my name, my order, and how I like it. I like the familiarity, and honestly, I don't do well with surprises. One morning, though, I walked up to the shop, only to find the lights off and a closed sign hanging on the door. A small note was taped to the window, something about a family emergency, and they'd be closed for a few days. It caught me off guard, but I shrugged it off. It was just coffee, after all. Looking around, I noticed another coffee shop a little farther down the street. I'd never paid much attention to it before, probably because it was a little off my usual path, tucked away between a dry cleaner and a boarded-up storefront. But I was already craving my caffeine fix, and it was either that or going all the way across town to find another place. As I got closer, I realized the place didn't even have a proper name, just a faded hand-painted sign above the door that said, "The Brew." The windows were dark, and I could barely make out anything inside. It wasn't exactly welcoming, but caffeine was caffeine. I pushed the door open, and a little bell above it jingled. Immediately, the smell hit me. Not the comforting aroma of fresh coffee, but something stale, almost like old wood and dust. The lights inside were dim, and everything seemed slightly off. The walls were lined with faded posters of bands I'd never heard of, and the furniture looked worn, like it had been there since the 70s. A single person was behind the counter, a man with a thin, sunken face and deep-set eyes that seemed to follow my every move. "Morning," I said, trying to sound casual. The man just nodded, not even a hint of a smile. I walked up to the counter, glancing at the barely legible menu handwritten on a chalkboard. It was strange. No typical names for the drinks, just things like the dark roast and the special blend. I ordered the dark roast, figuring it was the safest choice, and paid in cash since I didn't see a card reader anywhere. The man took my money without a word, then turned around to prepare my drink. While I waited, I glanced around the shop. There were a few other patrons, all sitting alone, each one hunched over their coffee in silence. Nobody was on their phone or reading a paper, which struck me as unusual. They just sat there, staring into their cups or at the empty tables in front of them. I tried not to make eye contact and focused on the counter, waiting for my drink. After a minute or so, the man slid a steaming mug toward me. I thanked him, but he didn't respond, just turned his back and went about cleaning the counter. I took a sip of the coffee, and instantly, I knew something was wrong. It tasted bitter, not like any coffee I'd ever had. It was as if it had been brewed with stale water or left on the burner for hours. But I didn't want to be rude, so I forced a few more sips down, hoping maybe it would taste better as I got used to it. As I sat there, I began to notice strange details about the shop. The air felt thick, almost oppressive, like it was weighing down on me. And there was an odd smell lingering, something I hadn't noticed before. Something metallic and faintly sour. I looked around and realized the other patrons were staring at me. Not directly, but out of the corners of their eyes, just enough that I could feel it. The unease in my stomach was growing, but I tried to shake it off. Maybe they were just regulars, not used to seeing new faces. After a few minutes, I decided I'd had enough. I got up, intending to take the rest of the coffee to go, but as I reached for the door, something strange happened. The bell that had jingled when I entered was silent. I looked up, confused, and noticed the bell was gone. I hadn't even realized until that moment that it was missing. "Leaving already?" a voice said from behind me. I turned to see the man at the counter watching me, his gaze colder than before. His face looked different too, paler, like he'd drained of color since I'd first walked in. "Yeah, thanks for the coffee," I mumbled, backing toward the door. I pushed against it, but it didn't budge. The door was locked. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead as I tried the door again, pushing harder this time, but it wouldn't move. The man behind the counter didn't come to help. He just stood there watching me with that hollow gaze. Then I heard a soft shuffle behind me, and I turned to see the other patrons rising from their seats. each one moving slowly toward me. They moved in sync, like they were being controlled by something, their eyes empty and unfocused. I backed up against the door, my heart pounding. What? What do you want? I stammered, looking from face to face, but they didn't respond. The man behind the counter finally spoke, his voice low and monotone. Finish your coffee, he said, his words echoing around the room. I looked down at the cup still clutched in my hand. The coffee had gone cold, and there was a strange, oily sheen on its surface now, like it was something other than coffee. My hands were shaking, but I knew I had to do something. In one quick motion, I threw the cup to the floor, the liquid splattering across the tiles. The man's face twisted in anger, and the patrons froze, their heads snapping toward me in unison. I tried the door one last time, throwing my weight against it. This time it gave way, and I stumbled out into the street, nearly falling onto the sidewalk. I didn't look back. I just ran, not stopping until I was several blocks away. When I finally looked over my shoulder, the coffee shop was gone. Just an empty storefront, the same boarded-up one I'd seen earlier. There was no sign of the Brew or anyone who might have been inside. To this day, I don't know what happened in that place or if it was even real. But every time I pass by that boarded-up storefront, I swear I feel a chill running down my spine, and I've never strayed from my usual coffee shop since. Whatever was waiting for me in that place, I never want to find out.